Welcome to my second video and my second attempt at making a short video and voiceover. It's a little bit longer than my first, but a whole lot more interesting and really only represents about a third of the dive that we actually completed on this occasion. We're still at the Murra Elevyn cave in the Nullarbor Plains, Western Australia, and this is actually the first dive for me and my friend who's actually behind me filming um, after completing our cave diving course. The gentleman ahead of us was one of the advanced cave divers who came out just to have some fun in the caves and do some diving, and essentially his mission on this dive was to run a couple of jumps, essentially to assist everybody with a couple of interesting features that we probably wouldn't have known were there unless the lines were run to them. See, we stopped there, and the that diver is actually on a rebreather, so he stopped and did his gas switch at 5 meters while we watched, and then he asked us to lead because he wasn't too interested in leading a dive. I went first, and my friend followed videoing, and we're just passing through the small part of the entry of the cave, essentially, before it opens up. There is a name for it, and I absolutely forget what it is, unfortunately. It's an absolutely beautiful cave. The galleries open up really, really nicely to quite a lot of space. And as you can see on the main line, there's a number of jumps along the way that, if you're so inclined, you can take, and they're actually really quite interesting. Just trying to, at this point, orientate myself. I'll have a little stretch, get myself ready to go, and off we go into the Murra Elevyn cave. Here we are at the low flattener. It's quite an interesting dive. You'll probably see me once touch my finger on the ground, just trying to understand how much silt is actually there, and it's quite remarkable how little silt there is, even though it looks like it's an area that could silt up quite a lot. In this cave, there are a few areas that could silt up quite a lot, but this certainly isn't one of them. However, without proper technique, you would silt the place up to a reasonable degree. The water temperature in this cave wasn't too bad. It was about 18.5 to 19 degrees Celsius. The depths really didn't get much beyond about 12 meters. It has some very steep and interesting undulations in the cave, so a lot of quite fast and interesting pressure changes. You can probably see as things move along, the landscape changes quite markedly from different types of rock falls and openings. The colours are probably hard to make out on the video, but the colours do change quite a lot as you go through the cave, and it's really very interesting, the features of the cave, and quite pretty to look at, this cave. So we just continue making our way along the line. This cave has two permanent lines, as I understand it, and to reach those permanent lines, you need to run a semi-permanent line from the entry of the cave. The semi-permanent line came out when we left the cave, but stayed in there for the duration, of course. Here we are, ready to run a jump. So we switched lead divers. The diver who essentially knew where the jump was meant to go takes the lead. I came in second as we had planned on the surface. And here we are communicating to the team what's happening. So this first jump's just an interesting set of reasonably smaller restrictions, nothing too tight and reasonably easy to pass through, but you do have to think about your orientation and the way you're trying to move through. Here the lead diver makes a tie off, and as I get to it I realise it's a pretty bad tie off. So I have a look, I signal him, try to get his attention. It's a little bit tight for him to turn around, but by the time he did, that tie off had come off, and I think he'd realised that he hadn't quite picked the right hole to go through to meet up with the other end of the main line. So we're moving back, or me moving backwards, trying to work out where the rocks are behind me. And we make a fairly sudden right turn. You can see he swims a little bit faster than me and sort of catches up to my knees with the line, which didn't cause a problem or any type of line trap. I felt that touch and realised I just had to push forward a little bit further and turn myself around. And by that time he'd tied off, and this time a very, very good tie off. And from here we start moving through the sort of tighter spaces, which was a lot of fun, very interesting. And one of those moments that you go through and realise why you did the cave diving course in the first place. This passage was exceptionally pretty to look at. And the features were astoundingly interesting. That might be a bit of post-dive glow, but that was thoroughly enjoyable. So here we are just waiting for the lead diver to get through. Nothing to do but hover. It's about those points when you start to realise that not only are you very, very tired from all of the work you've done to get the equipment into the cave at Murra and the few days of cave diving course that you've just completed, but your body is sore and you're getting cold. The water temperature again wasn't too bad all in all, and usually you would be able to handle it with ease, but I think when the physicality starts to wane a little bit, your tolerance also drops as well. So I was unusually for me, starting to feel the cold at this point, and this was only probably about a third of the way into the dive, not to a level where it was completely uncomfortable, but I did realise I was starting to get cold, and would become quite uncomfortable by the end of the dive, but I was prepared for that. Certainly not something that was at such a level it could cause a risk. So here we are, just tying off the final jump. Of course, we'll place our personal markers on the exit side of the line. In reality, both to the left and returning down that line would have been an exit anyway. And we all understood that, but we decided to signal down the line as a direction and coming through the jump again as an exit, just for clarity's sake, that we weren't seeking to exit, we weren't ending to the dive at this point. What we did was follow that down, checked our other markers, and then changed leads again. I went back in the lead and we went out to the end of the cave, and that will probably be video 2. So I hope you enjoyed this video.